Haji is already passed on. The same day, we did see the Member of Parliament for Bonchari, Oro Oyeoka, also pass. But we do know that last Monday, members of Parliament came back from recess. And so when they were just sitting, there's two news for Senator Haji and Bonchari MP Oro Oyeoka passing befell the House. Now this morning, there's something unique about the passing of Member of Parliament for Bonchari, because Oyeoka was the same sponsor for the CBK Amendment Bill. And that is a conversation point that we've always had here on a Business M and Metropole Television, the position for digital lenders within the economy. Now, Speaker Muturi said that indeed the need to honor is passing by speeding up the process of the bill that the late Bonchari MP Oyeoka was sponsoring. Under the bill, that is where our conversation point comes out this morning. All right, let's jump into the data around that bill this morning. Let's look at the number of registered mobile money accounts in the country, because exactly that's where the bill is coming from. And if you're going to talk about it, then you have to look at the trend in which Kenyans have been registering their mobile accounts for money transactions. All right, on a closer perspective, let's look at that, and you're going to see that trend all the way from 2017 to 2020 has been on a rising trend, meaning the majority of Kenyans could therefore access money through the mobile lenders in the country. And we're talking about the digital lenders. Fine. All right, now under the bill that the late Member of Parliament Oyeoka was sponsoring, it was saying that the CBK was supposed to curb the steep lending rates, and we do know some of them on an annualized basis that have gone all the way to 520%. Think about it. All right, let's have a look at what the annual lending rates in the country have been. All right, let's cross off to that data and look at it on a closer perspective, which you're going to see again that all the way from 2015 to 2020, there has been a drop in the annualized lending rates within the economy, which shows you that, well, the curve has been slowing down. So anybody who is under the commercial wing of the CBK, they have not really expressed themselves when it comes to dancing around with the lending rates seemingly, but the mobile lenders or the digital lenders have been having it on their own way, sort of going all the way to 520%. We've spoken about some of them being at around 320%. Now, Oyeoka wanted this as well, that he wanted all the digital lenders in the country to operate under CBK rules. That is, number one, seek approval for new products, but most importantly as well, seek approval for pricing of the different products that they are pushing towards the economy. Now, this coming at a time when CBK data also indicates that almost 14 million Kenyans are now under CRBs within the country. A majority of these have been out of the digital lenders within the economy. All right, let's now look at exactly how mobile money transactions are fared on again in 2020. And from that data, you're going to see that indeed 2020 was not a very bad year again for mobile money transactions within the economy. And that data is also going to indicate one thing, that this shift that we did have also in the economy, sort of moving from what has been hard cash to liquid cash, because we did say when we got into the coronavirus pandemic again, that is exactly how we got into it. And I want you to look at that data all the way from around April all the way to July 2020. That shift from hard cash to digital cash, or you like to say digital money, is exactly what led to that push in 2020. And this was that time again. Therefore, you like to think that, well, majority of Kenyans also accessed those loans from the digital lenders in the country. Another area that we have to talk about, Kenya's debt trend. But let's speak about it once we look at that data, and we've shown you that data from time to time. Again, it tells the same story. All right, let's look at it in terms of exactly where we've been from 2015 to 2020. Always on a rising trend. Fine, good. And this is all the way to June 2020, and that's the period that we're actually looking at, January to June in each year, all the way from 2015 to 2020. But now let's give it a different outlook this morning, because as we start today, we do know that Treasury is in plans to table a motion in the National House to extend our debt ceiling. Now, this is a talking point, because we do know just a year ago, you have to go back, 10 months for you to find that our debt ceiling was just at 6 trillion, which was raised to 9 trillion. I mean, if you go back to October 2019, our debt ceiling was 6 trillion. But now we do know that we crossed that ceiling to 7.28 billion last December, which again, if you look at our debt to GDP, then you're going to find that the percentage is 65.6% of our GDP. Fine. Now, Treasury is saying that the projection is going to go on like this. Now, they have projected the total public debt to hit 7.66 trillion by the end of the financial year in June, from 6.69 a year earlier. Good. Which means now they want to rise by 8.59 trillion by June 2022. They're saying that our debt level is going to be at 8.59 trillion by June 2022 and 9.37 trillion in the year that follows, meaning that indeed, if you factor in all the other areas, especially when it comes to understanding our public debt and the way in which we've been rising, this is exactly where we are. Now, let's talk about IMF. How much do we owe IMF all the way to 2019? Let's cross over to that 2015 all the way to 2019. But we do expect that number to jump, because we do know after coercion from IMF for us to factor an additional 3.4 trillion into our debt portfolio, meaning that even the 9.37 trillion really that we're talking about is neither here nor there, because Treasury also did announce that they expect to factor in that debt profile on a graduated basis. Then you can actually see that 2020 is going to be the year that we also went to IMF for more fiscal support. This morning, we tell you which one they have granted us, because we do know last year we did receive about 79 billion from IMF. What we do know again is that what we applied for last year has been granted again to the country in terms of IMF support, and they're calling it filling in the holes that have been caused by the coronavirus pandemic, that has seen a reduction in collections in the country and also a poor performance of the economy. Now, when we're talking about the effects of the coronavirus pandemic, then indeed you're going to say that the tourism and hospitality sector has been the one that was heavily hit by this pandemic. Then you like to think that exactly when it comes to propping it up, then you like to think that majority of our budget could go to tourism and hospitality. But is that the case? All right, let's look at exactly how this sector has been receiving financial support from the national government all the way from where we have been, if you look at what our arrivals have been from Jan 2020 to September 2020, then you can actually talk about a no visitor arrival into the country from April 2020 all the way to August 2020, albeit this small resumption in numbers in September 2020, and we're still waiting for Q4 numbers for us to actually start talking, because when you understand these numbers, then you like to talk about the effects of the worldwide vaccines that we do have in the country right now. But as per this headline, they have 9 billion from 12 billion. What are the effects of that cut in terms of the budget? We laid bare this morning in terms of our conversations here on a Business AM. What I do know, our 2 hours begin right about now.